The year was 1850, and hundreds of ships were floating abandoned, anchored without passengers or crews offshore in the San Francisco Bay. The vast majority of these ships would never set sail again, and would either be left to the elements to decay and sink, or would be reclaimed by scavengers to be used as building materials for the growing city of San Francisco. In fact, a great number of buildings were literally built using the hulks of ships as their foundations. But why were the ships there, and what led to their total abandonment? The answer, it turns out, was gold. These ships arrived during the California Gold Rush, a time when hundreds of thousands of people flocked to California, hoping to strike it rich searching for gold. The potential for wealth was so alluring that entire crews of sailors would leave their ships, never to return, in order to try and find gold. The story of the gold rush begins in 1848 in California. At the time, it was a territory with a relatively small population that had recently been won by the United States from Mexico during the Mexican-American War. John Sutter was a Swiss settler who had built an agricultural and trade colony known as Sutter's Fort in Coloma, California. Sutter hired James Marshall, a carpenter, to build a water-powered sawmill on the American River. While working on Sutter's mill, James Marshall discovered this flake of gold in the river and took it to Sutter. After verifying that the flake was indeed real gold, Sutter feared that news of gold in the area could negatively affect his agricultural investments and decided to keep the gold discovery secret. However, he wouldn't be able to keep it a secret for long. Samuel Brannan was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who led a group of pioneers to California in 1846 and served as the senior church leader there. By 1848, having heard rumors of the gold in Sutter's Fort, Brannan went to see for himself and found that, quote, there was more gold than all the people in California could take out in 50 years, end quote. He took a bottle of gold dust, traveled to San Francisco, and ran through the streets, waving the bottle of gold while shouting, quote, gold, 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 gold in the American River, end quote. News of gold in California spread quickly, and people began to pour into California searching for the precious metal. The California Gold Rush had begun. Between the years of 1848 and 1855, more than 300,000 people immigrated to California as part of the gold rush. This about tripled the population of California. While the majority of these settlers were from the United States, many of them came from China, Europe, and South America. While very few of those who prospected for gold actually struck it rich, about $2 billion worth of gold, which is about $65 billion today, entered circulation into the United States and helped reinvigorate the economy. The gold rush and the growth it brought to the region are largely credited as being the reasons why California was admitted as the 31st state to the Union in 1850. While this influx of people and money was a boon to California and the nation as a whole, it was devastating to the men who started it all. James Marshall was unable to finish his project building the sawmill because his workers abandoned it to search for gold. After several failed attempts to make money searching for gold himself, Marshall ended up penniless and had to live out the remainder of his days in this small, one-bedroom cabin. John Sutter's land was overrun by settlers and squatters who stole and destroyed his livestock and farms. Sutter soon went bankrupt and was never able to profit from the gold rush he played a crucial part in starting. Samuel Brannan initially profited greatly from the gold rush. While he was never interested in digging for gold himself, he was able to make a fortune selling prospecting equipment to those who had come to California. During the early years of the gold rush, Brannan had a falling out with leaders within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and was excommunicated. However, he was still widely influential in California throughout the gold rush and is known to be California's first ever millionaire due to the money he made selling prospecting equipment. Unfortunately, his luck turned after the boom died down. Brannan made some bad investments in a railroad track to a city named Calistoga that was too small for the railroad to be profitable, and a divorce left him forced to sell off his remaining assets. He too, despite having once obtained great wealth, died in poverty. All of the men who played critical roles in starting the gold rush died poor, despite the riches that they contributed to the nation.